I have the referee's permission and Ben is on the board. Ben Cutmore, Dive London Aquatics, inward 3.5 somersaults with tuck. Six and a half, 6.5, 6.5, 6, 6, 5.5, 6. Ewan McKay, Plymouth Diving, reverse 3.5 somersaults with tuck. Six and a half, 6.5, 7, 6.5, 6.5, 6.5, 7. Shane McConnell, Edinburgh Diving, back dive piked. Four and a half, 5, 5, 4.5, 5.5, 5, 5.5. Robbie Wood, City of Sheffield, forward 1.5 somersaults, piked. Seven, 7, 7.5, 7, 7, 7, 6.5. Mark Heritsenko, Ukraine, inward 3.5 somersaults with tuck. Eight, 8, 7.5, 7.5, 7, 8, 7.5. Kyle Kathari, Dive London Aquatics, back dive piked. Nine, 9, 8.5, 9, 9, 9, 9.5. Second round of dives. Ben, reverse 3.5 somersaults with tuck. 5, 5, 5, 5, 5 and a half, 5, 3 and a half. Ewan, arm stand back, double somersault, 2 and a half twist, position 3. Five and a half, 5 and a half, 5 and a half, 6 and a half, 6, 6, 6 and a half. Shane, reverse 2 and a half somersaults with tuck. Five, 5, 4 and a half, 5, 5, 6 and a half, 4 and a half. Robbie, back 2 and a half somersaults, 1 and a half twists, height. Seven and a half, 7, 7 and a half, 7, 7, 7 and a half, 7 and a half. Mark, forward 4 and a half somersaults with tuck. Five, 6, 5 and a half, 6 and a half, 6, 6, 6. Kyle, reverse dive pite. Eight and a half, 8 and a half, 9, 7 and a half, 9, 8, 8 and a half. Third round of dives. Ben, arm stand back, double somersault, and 2 and a half twists, free position. Four and a half, 5, 6, 5 and a half, 6 and a half, 6 and a half, 5 and a half. Ewan, inward 3 and a half somersaults, pite. 7.5, 7.5, 7.5, 7, 8, 7.5, 6.5. Shane, forward 3.5 somersaults, pite. 6, 6, 6, 6, 6.5, 6, 5.5. Robbie, back 2.5 somersaults with tuck, 5 meter. Six, 5.5, 5.5, 5, 5, 6, 5. Mark, back 3.5 somersaults with tuck. 8, 8, 8.5, 8, 8.5, 8, 8.5. Kyle, back 2.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists, pite. 8.5, 8.5, 8, 8, 8.5, 8.5, 8. Fourth round of dives. Ben, back 3.5 somersaults, pite. 3.5, 3.5, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. Ewan, back 3.5 somersaults, pite. 4.5, 4, 4, 4.5, 4, 4.5, 4.5. Shane, inward 3.5 somersaults with tuck. 5, 5, 4.5, 5, 5, 5, 5.5. Robbie, reverse 2.5 somersaults with tuck. 8.5, 8, 8, 7.5, 8.5, 8, 8. Mark, reverse 3.5 somersaults with tuck. 7.5, 8, 8.5, 7.5, 8.5, 8, 8.5. Kyle. Inward 3.5 somersaults with tuck. 7, 7, 6.5, 7, 6, 7, 7. Fifth round of dives. Ben. Back 2.5 somersaults, 2.5 twists, height. 4.5, 4.5, 4, 5.5, 5, 5.5, 4.5. Ewan, forward 4.5 somersaults with tuck. 4, 4, 4.5, 4.5, 6, 5, 4.5. Shane, arm stand, back double somersaults, 1.5 twists, position 3. 5, 5, 5, 4.5, 4, 5, 5. Robbie, arm stand back, double somersault, a half twist, pike. Six and a half, seven, six and a half, seven, 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 six and a half. Mark, arm stand back, double somersault, two and a half twists, position free. Five, five, five and a half, six, six, five and a half, five and a half. Kyle, forward three and a half somersaults with tuck, 7.5 meter. Six, six, six and a half, six and a half, seven, seven and a half, seven. Final round of dives. Ben Cutmore, Dive London Aquatics, forward four and a half somersaults with tuck. Three and a half, 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 three and a half. Ewan McKay, Plymouth Diving, back two and a half somersaults, two and a half twists, pike. Six and a half, six and a half, seven and a half, seven and a half, seven, six and a half, six. Shane McConnell, Edinburgh Diving, back two and a half somersaults, one and a half twists, pike. Five, 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 six, six, five, six. Robbie Woods, City of Sheffield, inward two and a half somersaults with tuck, 5 meter. 5.5, 5.5, 5.5, 5, 6, 6, 5.5. Mark Heritsenko, Ukraine. Back 2.5 somersaults, 2.5 twists, piked. Six, six, 6.5, 7, 6.5, 6, 6. Kyle Kathari, Dive London Aquatics. Back 1.5 somersaults, 2.5 twists, position free, 5 meter. Seven, seven, 7.5, 8, 7, 7, 7. Thank you, divers. Thank you, judges. And thank you, our recorder. You now have 30 minutes to make any changes to your finals dive sheets.